So, Your Worship, they sort of kicked around the idea of
Okay.
making minor adjustments to the snow budget, but no real appetite to make fundamental, expensive changes.
No, fundamentally, the storm that we had this week was not what I call a problem solved by money. Throwing a lot more money at this would not have helped very much because it was just a warm snowbed, 25 centimeters of snow. It's the most snow we've had in one snowfall in 4 years almost, and minus 25 at the same time, which never happens, which just basically meant you had ice that was as hard as concrete, and the anti-icing properties of the pickle couldn't work, which is why as soon as it got to about minus 15, suddenly it got much better because the anti-icing properties could actually work. So it was just a big problem in many, many ways. That said, I think that we can always get better. And in particular, the concerns that I am worried about have to do with pedestrians and windrows. So particularly in the downtown core, we had windrows that were really impeding people's ability to walk. You know, I called 311 myself on Saturday over one in front of the Calgary Tower in front of a major transit stop where I saw a man in a wheelchair very nearly fall out of his chair trying to navigate the windrow. We got to do better than that.
I mean, those are a big bugaboo in Calgary because those windrows are something, that especially also in residential areas, because they're the end of the line.
Well, you know, I live on a Priority 2 street myself, and certainly there are windrows on my driveway, and I'm super lazy and just drive over them and try to flatten them. My next door neighbor, on the other hand, comes out with a little pick and makes his beautiful. I keep asking him to do mine, and he won't. That said, my real concern is with impeding pedestrian access. You know, and when they're super high and you're a senior and they're in your driveway, call 311. We might not be able to get to it right away, but we'll try and help you.
The other thing, if I can ask one last question, is that the next step might be flooding. You had all this snow, they cleared it all away, but hey...
Why would you say stuff like that?
I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, we certainly do have a bigger snowpack than we've had in past years. Good news is warm weather this week and some melting that should go this week should help in that matter. You just don't want a whole bunch of melt all at once.
Other topics?
Did you mention the police commission? I heard you say that under your breath.
Well, not because I'm being rude, I just haven't read it, so I don't know. Darcy was trying to read it to me as I walked out, and I was like, I better not comment.
No commission member is going to be censured.
So I hear. You might get more out of me once I've read it.
Okay. We'll save that for another
What
day.
time the Prime Minister's trip to D.C. in terms of how that went?
I don't actually know how it went. I will tell you that the first person to make a Love Actually reference about the press conference between the President and the Prime Minister will get the back of my head. It is not my favorite film. I'm willing to take a stand on this.
So it could have gone so much worse.
You know, I know that certainly the statement that we've seen is pretty generic, which is not a terrible thing, frankly, in this day and age. Prime Minister had a tough job because he really had to go down and talk about the important aspects of what we do in Canada that is different while being respectful to his host. Now, I would argue that in a world where the trend is towards closed arms, closed hearts, closed borders, closed minds, Canada needs to be unfashionable. We need to be open to ideas and minds and investment from all around the world. And I think that this is really a point, a historical point and a historical opportunity for us. And it's not to be critical of other people's points of view. It's just to say we're different. And if that gives us the ability to attract investment and brains from around the world, I think that's a good thing.
Isn't that protectionism impetus the way the States went in the 30s, right? And it ended up, there was a world war because the U.S. withdrew from the world stage.
I'm not a recent economic historian, but I can tell you that I've got an iPhone. And when I look at that phone, I see that it was designed in California, it was assembled in China with parts from all over the world. And if you're trying to preserve manufacturing jobs in the United States, or in Canada for that matter, you got to do so in a way that doesn't cripple your most innovative companies. And so I think for Canada, you know, given that we've got the Canadian-European trade agreement coming on board, we'll preserve our trade relationship with the United States if we have to. I think we'll form a bilateral relationship with Mexico. We'll continue our relationships with Latin America and with Asia. It gives us a real opportunity to be a major trading post for the world, and I think that's solid economic strategy.